For those of you who've never heard of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, it's a PC and mobile video game using the speed duel set of rules, meaning the field only has 3 monster zones, 3 back row zones, and skills that each player can use to generate some sort of advantage. These range from the good old life point boost alpha, which gives you a bonus 1000 life points, to... It's a weird game. At time of recording this, we just came out of a tier 0 metagame where Galaxy Ice Tachyon Dragon of all things was the best deck, thanks in no small part to a completely busted skill. It's not the first time in Duel Links' history that some weird deck has been granted the dubious honor of being the best thing to play by a mile. One such deck was one that released in the TCG not long before it was added to Duel Links and completely bombed in the real game. I'm talking of course about furry. Join me today on this bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links history as we uncover why furry was tier 0. Furries were introduced to Duel Links in the Clash of Wings mini-box to release on June 18th, 2018, not even a month after their TCG release in Dark Saviors on May 24th, 2018. For the record, Dark Saviors also introduced Sky Strikers, so it's no wonder our furry friends failed to impress by comparison. I mean, you know, Sky Strikers. Did you know that TOS actually stands for There Is Only Sky Striker? It's important to know that back in May 2018, the metagame was settling around 4 decks: Amazonas, Sylvans, Spellbooks, and Masked Hero. Amazonas was considered the best deck of the time, and the most annoying one too. It was a very versatile and consistent control deck using Amazonas Princess to search Amazonas Onslaught, which turned every single Amazonas monster into discount DD Warrior ladies. Add an Amazonas Queen, which Princess could summon from deck, and you ended up with an incredibly resilient and super annoying deck. Sylvans were an aggressive deck focused around milling your own cards for advantage. Kuroshrumu and Martial Leap were respectively back row and monster removal, and the deck could also use Rose Lover to summon a large beat stick that'd be immune to traps for the turn. Oh joy! Also, World Carrot Weight Champion was there. I don't want to talk about it. The deck flirted with tier 0 status before Amazonas released, but never quite reached it. Spellbooks were also rather powerful, even before the Silent Magician EX structure deck, more on that later by the way. It was a weird combo-oriented strategy, using the Grass Looks Greener to fill graveyard with spells to banish for Spellbook of Fate, which you could search with Secret, Blue Boy, or Reaper of Prophecy. Prophecy Destroyer was also used as a recurable beater in this deck. Like I said before, it was pretty strong, but it would only get better. Last but not least, Masked Hero was an aggressive deck focused on using the Dark Attribute Destiny Heroes, or Vision Hero Vion, as targets for Mask Change, summoning a 2800 attack beater that could then search another Mask Change as soon as it destroyed a monster by battle. The deck could frequently end games in a single turn, but was much more linear than the other 3, has been the meta for a longer time, and considered overall not as strong. Other decks worth mentioning include Aliens, a former top tier deck that had been power crept since, Geargias, a control deck using the flipping effects of the namesake machines to control the field, Archfiends, a deck that wanted to mill or discard large Archfiends and revive them with Call of the Archfiends or Archfiends Roar, and Cyber Angels, a former tier 0 deck that got Dakini limited to alongside Machine Angel Ritual, rendering the deck much less explosive but still competent. To note also, pretty much all of these decks were using Restart as their default skill, since the guarantee of a consistent opener mattered a lot. Balance was apparently the second most popular skill in the game, since it was, you know, another consistency enabler that had no deck building conditions back then. Grit was also a popular skill for Hero and Sylvans, as pre-nerf all it did was protect you against OTKs. And last but not least, Titan Showdown was used in Hero because a bug made it deal quadruple damage instead of 1 quadruple earth damage when Anki attacked directly. Yay! Staples of the time included but were not limited to Enemy Controller, Forbidden Chalice, Treacherous Trapple, and Hatronade for the more aggressive decks. Wall of Disruption had long replaced Mirror Wall as the game's premier combat trick, but neither it nor Sphere Karibo were seeing too much play at the time, due to not really being effective against the best decks, seeing how Amazonas Swordswoman could make Wall of Disruption backfire and Sylvans could just ignore it entirely. The June 13th ban list nerfed all of the top decks, notably putting Rose Lover, Sylvan Martial Leaf, Amazonas Onslaught, Destiny Hero Celestial, Cyber Petite Angel, and Pulse Mines to 2 alongside Enemy Controller, which up until that point was like the single best staple in the entire game. As far as skills go, Restart was changed to make you skip your first draw. Balance was also nerfed, requiring you to play 6 of each card type to trigger. On the very same day, the first EX structure deck Spellbound Silence was released. I told you we'd talk about it later. Introducing Silent Magician to the game alongside Gold Sarcophagus. Untouched by the ban list and with a whole new boss monster, Spellbooks was set to become the next best deck. That is, until Fur Hire released. Fur Hire was a swarm-centric deck that could easily control the board and make lethal pushes. The archetype was focused, and like Sylvan's before it, took a lot of deck slots but needed very few outside tech. The low-level Fur Hire monsters Fur Hire, could special summon any Fur Hire from hand once per turn, and had an effect that triggered when another monster Fur Hire was special summoned. Beat, Bladesman Fur Hire could search any Fur Hire from deck, making it an ideal first summon whether you were going first or second. Donpa and Recon could pop respectively face up and face down cards, whether they were back row or monster, and were the prime removal of their time. Last, and certainly least, Seal could retrieve any Fur Hire from the graveyard, making him the least useful of the bunch, but still a decent 1 or 2 of. As for the high-level Fur Hire monsters, they each had an effect on summoned and another on the field. What if it's pronounced Dinah? I think it's pronounced Dinah actually.
Dinah.
Oops. Dinah was the deck's main beta with 2500 attack, could banish up to 3 cards from the graveyard on summon, and prevented your opponent from attacking any other monster. That's right, having 2 Dinahs on the field meant your opponent could not attack at all. Wiz was the more defensive one, sitting at 2800 defense and getting you up to 1500 life points on summon. It also had an effect allowing you to discard any Fur Hire cards, including back row, to negate any spell or trap. Fur Hires also had access to Mayhem, a quick play monster reborn, and Training, which allowed you Fur Hires to float. The former saw a lot of play, the latter not so much. So all in all, the deck had access to monster and back row removal, a semi-floodgate, and even back row negate. With all of these, how could the deck not be tier 0? Fur Hire quickly became the best deck of a weekend format thanks to their consistency and gigantic power output. Early lists used the skill Beatdown as their de facto skill in order to capitalize on multiple Dinahs swarming the field, which allowed them to end games super quickly. It took both ladder and the tournament scene by storm, though its reputation has been vastly overstated. While Fur Hire was considered tier 0 throughout all of July 2018, the Duel Links Meta Top Player Council decided to demote it to tier 1 in the first August 2018 tier list, citing that while Fur Hire warped the format, it was not without flaws. Both Amazonas and Spellbooks proved to be difficult for Fur Hire to handle going second, and this reflected in following tourney results as well. The release of the new Empire of Scarlet mini-box on August 8th also introduced a new contender to the mix. Vampires, which benefited from the newly released Zane's Cyber-style scale to produce tribute fodder for basically free. For the anecdote, Vampires was like the third archetype, which got support in Dark Saviors. So it's really like a case of the serpent eating its own tail. That's not what it is at all. Additionally, a new ban list was announced in early August, which would put Dinah to limited 1 and Donpa to limited 2, which would reduce the deck's ability to close out games. Players had to drop the Beatdown in favor of the Tide That Binds as their primary skill, but some adapted and started running Mythic Depths Sea Stealth Attack as a way to turn Wiz into an offensive option. Unfortunately, this was not enough to prevent Fur Hires from briefly dropping to tier 2 in September 2018, but then in October 2018, after surprising everyone and winning MCS 12 alongside Amazonas, the deck was switched back to tier 1 status next to Vampires and Amazonas. The Top Player Council commented on this victory and the importance of the surprise factor. People in larger tournaments simply weren't expecting Fur Hires to make a comeback. And that's when the new ban list was announced. On October 15th, Konami announced some skill changes, alongside a new limited list which notably put Wiz, Sage for Hire, Hate Runade, and Treacherous Trapple at Limited 2. This ban list, by the way, is the one that cemented the Limited 2 list as the quarantine zone, where cards in top tier decks were sent years before that role was taken by the Limited 3 list and its wide array of staple trap cards. This huge loss in consistency resulted in Furhire being removed from the tier list entirely, and though 2 Furhire decks placed in the top 100 of the December 2018 KC Cup, the deck was not considered meta relevant anymore going into 2019. Subsequent support released in Infinity Destruction, which was like 2 cards, and eventual Unlimits weren't enough to bring the deck back. Furhires had simply been power crept. But if there's anything I learned from the TCG, it's that any deck is just one wave of support away from being relevant again. Furhires are still missing some of their key main cards in Duel Links, including both of their Link monsters, Rafale, which is a beefy monster negate that I'm sure I pronounced incorrectly, and Rex, who almost single-handedly turned Furhires into a decent engine for Sprite and Runic decks in the TCG. With the way Duel Links currently is, for better or worse, there's always a slight chance that Furhire does get their best support card and maybe even a dedicated skill in the future. I guess we'll just have to wait and see for sure. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. This was a first for me. I decided, you know what, I'm not too optimistic about the future of Duel Links, but I can always, look to the past and talk about things that I think were cool about Duel Links, because it's a cool game after all. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to let me know in the comments. Maybe comment a deck that you'd like me to cover next. Maybe, Cyber Angels, Dark Lords. I've been thinking about some of these, but I'm not sure where to start, honestly. And yeah, writing the script was a lot of fun. It was kind of weird just going back through old footage and seeing how different the game used to look. It was a lot of fun though, so I'm definitely gonna try some more of these videos. If you like this video, make sure to like it on the YouTube button thingy, and comment that you like this video, and also subscribe. They would mean a lot to me. And thank you once again for your time, and I'll see you next time, maybe with another one of these. Bye!